Hi, BookTube. It's 2025. It's 2025. And I was thinking, oh, I got to see in the new year with a video. Even though tomorrow would normally be my day for putting up something new, I thought, no, I'm going to do something. I really enjoyed the Patchwork video that I did in December, where I just mixed a lot of things together, a bit of a tag, a bit of news, a bit of, and I thought, yeah, I like those. I think I might make them a regular thing. So today is our 2025 New Year Patchwork. We're going to take a look at the books that I got for Christmas. We're going to do a tag, and then we're going to talk about a new project, which isn't strictly speaking a New Year's thing because I've already got it underway, but it's going to take up most of 2025. So it's as good as, isn't it? So let's get right to it. Okay, Christmas books. I got 3 books for Christmas, all of them courtesy of my friend Georgie. And Georgie, if you're watching, thank you, because she raided? You can't really raid someone's Amazon wish list, can you? You can't. You are invited there, and then you get to look around and you get to pick something. And she did. So she picked 3 books that I'd put on my Read What You Own challenge wish list. Oh, honestly, okay, maybe I'm going to have to come up with another word for that, because I'm struggling. At any rate, she went on my thing on Amazon that I put together during the year that I could not buy books. Okay, and she bought me 3 of those books. Let's just avoid the term. Let's look at the books. That might help. Let's look at the books. I tell you what I did before I started filming was I rehearsed holding the books up to the camera, because you know how bad I am at that. You remember, yeah. So here I am, properly holding up this first book to the camera. So this is Cal Newport's Slow Productivity. Now, Cal Newport is an MIT graduate in computer science, and he's currently working at Georgetown University. He's written a number of books that explore how to cultivate a deep life in digital society. And he also hosts a podcast called Deep Questions, and I will include a link to that in my description box because it looked fascinating. I haven't listened to any episodes yet, but there's a couple where the title alone is making me think I got to make time for a few of these at the very least. I like the headings in this book, the chapter headings. Immediately I thought, yeah, this is the reason why I must have picked this. The chapter headings are like, do fewer things, right? Work at a natural pace and obsess over quality. I love that. And the interior layout is so sympathetic to busy people. Let me just give you a glimpse so you can see the size of the font. The font is big. I'd say that's definitely 14 point, definitely. And there's a space between each line of text. There's lots of white space. I see lots of subheadings within the chapters. So if you're a busy person, right, it's already allowing you to read in tiny chunks. I like that. Very sympathetic book. You're definitely going to get a review about this one, no question. Book number 2 is Quit by Annie Duke. Now, see, the only problem with letting someone have a look around your Amazon wish list is if they buy something from it. I said wish list correctly. Note that. But when someone buys you something from the aforementioned list, it disappears off the list. And I had notes on each book that I put on that list as to why I put, who'd recommended it to me, if it had been a YouTube creator, if they'd recommended it, and why I really wanted to read it. So I can't remember why I wanted to read this. And I am actually a bit baffled. I'm looking at it going, I think I'm quite good at quitting things. I've quit a lot of things in my life when they became unworkable, not useful to me anymore, not helpful. I've walked away from quite a few things. I'm not afraid to do that. So I don't think I need coaching. I don't think I picked this book because I thought, I need a bit of help learning how to quit things. I thought, no, I've done a lot of that. The fact that I'm living in the UK was in itself a kind of quitting, but we won't talk about that just here and now. Maybe what I was looking for with this book was reassurance that the things that I have quit, I did the right thing at the right time. I don't know. I'm going to read it anyway and find out what I think of it. And finally, book number 3 is Tolstoy and the Purple Chair. Now, before I say more about this book, it's so handy, this particular book, because it pretty much answers the first question to the tag that I'm going to do. So let's start the tag and work the book in, okay? So I'm going to do the reading books about reading books tag. And this was created by Robert at Robert G. Reader of Books -R3P. And I was tagged by Meg, good old Meg. Hi, Meg. Happy New Year, Meg. Meg at Books Off the Beaten Path. Question number 1 in that tag is, what do you enjoy most about reading? Tolstoy and the Purple Chair. Let's read the back cover, and you're going to see what it is. We'll come to the point, honestly. Here we go. Reading the back cover. Caught up in grief after the death of her sister, Nina Sankovich decided to stop running and start reading. For once in her life, she would put all other obligations on hold and devote herself to reading a book a day. 1 year of magical reading in which she found joy, healing, and wisdom. A moving story of recovery, Tolstoy and the Purple Chair is also a resonant reminder of the all-encompassing power and delight of reading. So that's what the book is about. And it includes at the back a list of all the books that Nina read during her year. But what I loved here was it's a review written by, is it Book Page? Sorry, I've got the wrong glasses for read. I don't wear glasses to read. I don't need them. But there's somewhere in here, where one of the reviewers calls the book a sanctuary. And that word is key. That's my answer to question 1 of this tag. I see books as a sanctuary. That's, to me, a book. When you open a book, it's like you enter a sacred headspace where everything mundane and heavy and soul-eating is not permitted to enter in while you are there in the book. And even if the characters in the novel that I'm reading happen to be living through really heavy, soul-eating things, I don't know why, but somehow, for me as a reader, this ends up being cleansing and affirming and renewing, even if I bawl my eyes out at the end. In fact, possibly very much so if I bawl my eyes out at the end. It's cathartic. So all the things that you think of religion doing, and maybe this is interesting because, of course, I stopped being a Christian in 1999, and I looked around for lots and lots of other things that would be effective. There were things about religion that were nice that it was a pity to have to give up. There were plenty of things that weren't, but there were a few things that were. And I think what I found is that reading provided the good things, provided that sense of sanctuary, provided me with learning experiences, provided me with a chance to experience depth of emotion and catharsis, all the things that I felt were good about religion. I find that books now provide. So that's my answer to question 1. And that is, I think, what is going to make this a really good book. Thank you again, Georgie. Did I say thank you, Georgie? Thank you. Thank you for all 3 books. Okay, let's finish this tag video now. Question 2. Question 2 is, what is the greatest benefit you get from reading? Well, obviously, some of that is answered in question 1, but for me, learning, I could just use the word learning as a big blanket term, but I could be really specific, and I could say, well, I love it when a book tells me a story I could not live. It puts me behind a point of view I cannot be, because I am who I am and I'm not who the person writing the book is. So stories that are other people's to tell, that I can't tell, and also I can't fully understand, I can get as close as is probably possible by reading a book. So I love that. I love, with nonfiction, I love it when a myth is busted, even if it's a myth that I kind of liked right? I like to see it blown out. I like to see my point of view completely upended and turned around. I like to see the same event from somebody else's perspective. So I'm really looking forward to, for example, this isn't nonfiction, it's fiction, but Percival Everett's James, I've got that reserved and you've all read it. Well, okay, a lot of you have read it. And I know that I would love to see that story of Huckleberry Finn completely sort of reoriented. I want to see a reorientation, or more likely, I want to hear the story of the character of Jim, who would never have had his story told otherwise. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the other thing I love too, with nonfiction particularly, is finding a bit of history it's been nearly forgotten, or maybe it was never really well known. It got suppressed, or nobody wanted to talk about it. It got swept under the carpet. And I'm reading a book like that now. Let me just bring this one up to the camera. I didn't plan this, but here we go. This one I am reading right now, called The Hated Cage, an American Tragedy in Britain's Most Terrifying Prison. Now this, I've got to remember to look at the camera. Sorry, everybody, for me. I look at the phone because I want to read the cover of the book. This book, you can see I'm on page 134 right now. It's the story of American prisoners of war being kept in Dartmouth prison during the War of 1812 and shortly after, and the horror of it. And there were many, many sailors who kept written accounts of their time in the prison, or they wrote them afterwards. So there's a plentiful source of a plentiful primary sources, but it's a bit of history that isn't very well known. It's also a good resource for knowing how and why Dartmoor prison was built in the first place, because it was built to be a POW prison first, before it was ever thought of as a civilian prison. So that's interesting too. But I think it is interesting that there was literally a small town's population of Americans on British soil for many years. It was not a nice existence. It came to a tragic end, as probably the cover illustration is indicating. I think it's an absolutely fascinating book, really well written. Should be able to review it for you probably this time next week. And I think this is definitely, if you love those funny little corners of history that everybody else seems to have forgotten, Nicholas Guyot, the author, has discovered this one, dug deep, and found some fantastic, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll talk about it next week, okay? But definitely enjoying this one. I did get off the topic a bit there, right? We're on the tag. We're doing a tag, not a nonfiction review. Question 3 of the tag says, is there any other activity which gives you satisfaction similar to reading? Now, to me, that's key. There are other activities I like doing, yes. But if you talk about a level of satisfaction similar to reading, the only other one is writing. And it doesn't matter what kind of writing. I have written fiction. I have written nonfiction essays. I like both. I've done lots of both. That none of them have been sort of officially published. Well, no, that's not true. I've had a couple of short stories in magazines, a couple of articles here and there, but it's like drop in the ocean. Maybe not poetry. Poetry, I used to write poems when I was younger. I mean, doesn't everyone write poetry in their teens and early 20s? A couple of those were okay. Just okay, though, right? Most of them were less than that. It just wasn't where I felt comfortable. Question 4. Do you have a dedicated time each day or specific days of the week devoted to reading? Oh, I wish. I wish I could have dedicated reading time that was never encroached upon, never had to be rescheduled. It doesn't happen. Not right now. Whether I could make it happen, I really don't think so. I definitely read every week. I read almost every day, but never at the same time or for the same amount of time. It's just, I cannot get that predictable. What I would like to get better at doing, though, is looking for additional pockets of time where I could read. So not creating something predictable, perhaps, but increasing the amount of unpredictable, opportunistic reading. That's what I would like to do. And hopefully I can report to you on some improvement on that throughout 2025. If I don't normally do New Year's resolutions, but if I did, And now's as good a time as any to do them, right? If I did, I think what I would say is my New Year's resolution is be more on the lookout for those pockets of time when you could read, but you forget to, and try to remember to. Now I'm going to skip question 5 because it's really the same thing as question 4, similarly worded. It says, do you have a dedicated amount of time for reading each day? Well, if you don't have a dedicated time for reading, then, the amount it's just not really a question, is it? I'll go on to question 6, which is, what is your favorite essay or book about the joys of reading? And I don't really have one right now. I'm kind of hoping that Tolstoy and the Purple Chair becomes that kind of book. Obviously, I'm going to read it, so you're going to find out. And question 7, what is your favorite quote about the joy of reading? I have one from C.S. Lewis, it comes from a bit of a different perspective, and it isn't just talking about reading. But he says, the first demand any work of art makes upon us is surrender. Look, listen, receive, get yourself out of the way. And I think that's really important when you're reviewing books. It's what I try to do when I'm reviewing a book. I want the book to talk to me, and I want to try to get to know it, to understand what was the author trying to achieve? What were they hoping for when they set out to write? What kind of audience did they hope to reach? And in what exact way did they make that whole thing happen? Does it work? And who would the book probably most appeal to or not appeal to? I love question 8. Question 8 says, if you were denied time to read or access to books, how would you cope? Oh my. See, I've been in this place and it is not healthy. And the answer is that, unfortunately, I would become devious and deceitful, also creative and resourceful, because I would try to get what I wanted anyhow. That's something that it's made me think of the book I'm reading, The Hated Cage, about Dartmoor Prison. No matter what prison authorities try to keep prisoners from doing, that's exactly what the prisoners will end up doing, and doing quite well in spite all the attempts to prevent them. And so I would be doing everything I could. And I think I'd find reading, well, it would mean more, wouldn't it, if the time for it or the materials were stolen and had to be concealed. Yeah, I'd love that, but I'd become an absolute criminal. You couldn't trust me. And finally, of course, you tag other people. Now, I know I've seen loads of these videos doing this tag, so I can't think off the top of my head of anyone that who I watch who hasn't done it already. So this is an open invitation. If you've heard these questions or you've watched them somewhere else, no one's tagged you, and nobody means it, right? It's just that you can't remember all the people that you think might like to do a tag. But if you're out there, you want to do this tag, nobody's tagged you. Okay, I have just tagged you. Yep, officially. Okay, so since we've been talking about being creative and resourceful, all right, a devious way, but this is a non-devious way. I want to talk about a new reading project that I've started. I've been going on, well, throughout 2024, I read several books, didn't I, in preparation for rereading Tolstoy's War and Peace. And as I got into, closer to 2025, I thought, okay, when am I going to tackle this big guy? Because it's no good having done all this preparation to then leave it a long time before you hit the book that you're aiming for. But at the same time, it's 1,300 pages. And I thought, how am I going to get that read and still have material for BookTube at the same time? And then I was watching a video from Marion H. So Marion, you're owed a big thank you. This is all down to you. You were the inspiration for this idea. But she mentioned that somebody had read War and Peace in a year by reading a chapter per day. And she had her copy in front of the camera and she paged through it and said, actually, the chapters are mostly quite short. And I thought, are they? It's been a while, right? I was 14. I'm 61. Or no, I will be. But it's been a long time, is what I want to say. So I got my copy down, but I got my copy down and I also opened up an Excel spreadsheet because, I'm in finance, right? That's what we do. Opened up an Excel spreadsheet and thought, I'm going to log all this. I'm going to work out how many chapters are there? How long are they? What's their average length? And how long would it take me to read a chapter a day. And I can now tell you officially, there are 361 chapters in War and Peace. The average length of a chapter, wait for it, it's I couldn't believe this, 3.75 pages. That's the average length of each chapter. Very short. So I think, wow, I don't need to read this book all at once. I can do the chapter a day. In fact, I have started. I am already 6 chapters in to War and Peace, and this is going really nicely. And in addition to my chapter log that I kept on the spreadsheet, I opened up a second tab in the worksheet. People that use Excel will know what I'm talking about. Second tab. And I created another worksheet to record all the characters that I would meet. And so I've got a column for their surname, a column for their first name, a column for any title that they have, a column to show where they first appear in the book, what page number. And then I have a couple of columns for notes. One column in particular is to describe who were they related to, what other characters in the book are they related to and how. And then another column for just important little things to remember about that particular character, their appearance, or if they're having an affair with someone, or whatever. I think the Princess Bolkonsky is pregnant in the early part of War and Peace. Okay, well, note that down, because when will that baby be born, and will it be okay, and so on and so forth. I know from having read Dickens, Charles Dickens' Bleak House. When I had to read Bleak House, I did the same character chart. It was very, very useful, and particularly to review. And so I'm going to do that throughout the year. If anybody's interested, I did make a blank template of my War and Peace, the chapter listing and the blank character listing. If you're interested, I'm happy to send it out. Or if you want to wait till I've finished War and Peace, when I have it all completed and filled in, and then you'd like to use it, I'm happy to give it away. That's not a problem. So that is what is happening throughout 2025, and I'm quite excited about that. And that's my 2025 patchwork video, the first of many, done. Thank you to everybody that I've mentioned during this video for what you've given me. Thank you to everybody who's looking out at my videos, liking, commenting. I tell you what, this is a fantastic thing to do. BookTube, it really is. It's such a shot in the arm. And even me, who you might think, oh, your numbers are really small and so on. I thought, yeah, but it isn't always quantity that counts. Sometimes it's quality. I've got some real quality people that reach out and talk and watch and or provide me with fantastic videos to watch. So I am not unhappy. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to my 2025 BookTube year. And I wish everybody fantastic reading, great books to talk about, lots of time to make content, everything that you want, more subscribers, you name it, have it for 2025. Okay, everybody, going to see you in a few days' time with a fiction review. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.